Now, this brings us to the internal effects section, which is here. Now, the effects on this mixer, I personally have found actually quite usable and pretty good sounding considering the price. So, at the top, you have a rotary knob which selects the program, meaning the type of effect. You can see there's a list here. Below that, you have a parameter knob which adjusts a specific parameter of that effect. And then here, you have a knob that allows you to route the effect return, meaning the wet signal, the affected signal, to your aux, stage monitors, recorder, whatever you've got plugged in there. Here you have an on. The on is non-latching in this case, and you have a PFL. So the way that I'm going to demonstrate these effects is, I'm going to raise the effect return to unity, and I'm going to raise this, and what this does is it sends the signal from my microphone to the internal effects unit, and it is returned here. So check, 1, 2, check, 1, 2, right? So you can hear there we have a hall reverb. If I switch this off, no effect. If I pull the fader down, I get less effect. And if I pull the fader all the way down, I get no effect. Now, you'll need to decide whether you run this knob higher and the fader lower, or the fader at unity and play with this, okay? For the purposes of this demonstration, we'll keep this at, 11 o'clock. So, the first effect is a hall reverb, and the parameter adjusts the reverb time. So, this is a shorter reverb time, check 1, 2, 3, 4, check 1, 2, 3, 4, long reverb time. All right, going to preset 2, this is also a whole reverb, and the parameter also adjusts the reverb time. Short reverb, check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, long reverb time. Now, it's important to note that this, when you set the parameter and you switch to another effect, the mixer actually remembers this parameter. In other words, there's a memory that remembers the parameter setting. So for example, say I was on parameter 1 and I had it set to the longest, all right? Then I switch to this and I set it to the shortest. If I switch back to 1, you can hear that it's still on that very, very long parameter. If I move this at all, you can hear that it now goes back to whatever this is set to. So it has a short-term memory that remembers that parameter setting. When you switch the mixer off, that memory is reset. So it defaults back to whatever it was, the default setting. Okay, let's carry on here. So we'll set our parameter control to 12 o'clock. Go to 3. 3 is a room reverb, and as you can hear there, there's substantially less space around my voice, and the parameter is reverb time once again. So short reverb time, check 1, 2, 3, 4, and long reverb time. Parameter 4 is also a room reverb. You can hear there it's slightly larger than the first one, and the parameter once again is reverb time. Preset 5 is stage. This is supposed to simulate a large stage. Parameter is reverb time once again. Preset 6 is a different type of stage. Parameter once again, check 1, 2, 3, 4 is reverb time. Program 7 is a plate reverb. Plate reverb is a, in the old days, when they didn't have digital effects, the way that they would create reverb is by connecting a pair of transducers to a big metal sheet and running the audio signal through that. And that would create a kind of a reverb that is very sought after by some people. And it has a sort of metallic, hard-edged sound to it, as you can hear there. And it's a relatively short reverb. So that's parameter in this case is reverb time from long to short. Okay. Program 8 is drum ambience. This is a very short reverb that's designed for use with kick drum, and the parameter adjusts the reverb time. So that is, in my opinion, the most useful. 1 to 8 are very useful parameters for live sound as well as some types of recording. When you go beyond that, it gets, shall we say, from the sublime to the not so sublime. 9 is a karaoke echo, good for sing karaoke with your friends, yeah? And the parameter is the delay time. So that's the long delay, and this is a very short delay. So you can hear that the delay time sort of increases as you do that. So presumably as the evening wears on, you increase the delay time and you sing the sad songs together with your friends. Okay. 10 is a vocal echo. The difference between echo and reverb is that an echo has distinct repeats that are distinguishable from the original signal. So you can hear there, right? So increasing the parameter increases the delay time. Okay, so this is it's actually more of a delay than an echo, but anyway, splitting hairs. Okay. 10 is, I'm sorry, we're up to 11 now. 11 and 12 are both choruses. Now, a chorus, what it does is it is a it's a low frequency oscillator that creates a slight thickening of the sound, all right? And the parameter is the low frequency oscillator frequency. So that's presumably longer. This is presumably a higher frequency, and this is a lower frequency. So you can hear, if you listen carefully, you can actually hear the oscillator going up and down, all right? 12 is a different kind of chorus. Check, check, 1, 2. Check, 1, 2. Something weird going on there. All right. That is a flanger. We're on 13 now. Same thing. Flanger and chorus are related. This controls the oscillator frequency there. Turn it up so that you can hear more there. Check, check, 1, 2. Check, check, 1, 2. 14 is a phaser. Check, 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, check, 1, 2, 3, 4. The choruses, flangers, phasers are more intended for guitarists, right? Flanger and phaser, especially electric guitar, chorus, electric or acoustic guitar. Finally, 15 is an auto wah. All right, auto wah, bring that up there. Check, check, 1, 2. Check, check, 1, 2, 3, 4. Give you a bit more there. Check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Parameter, once again, is the low frequency oscillator. And finally, 16 is distortion. And it's the parameter adjusts the amount of drive that you have, so you can get real overdriven stuff there. And as I demonstrated in a previous video, this is very useful for getting
the Darth Vader effect. Luke, I am your father still.
Okay, so that's enough of that, and then you're back to 1. Okay, enough of the effects. Let's move on to talk about the groups and the rest of the master section. All right, so we've covered the effects, internal effects unit. Now let's cover this section here. All right. Here you have the switch for phantom power. Now phantom power is applied only to the XLR inputs and is required for condenser microphones, some active DI boxes, that sort of thing. If you don't have anything that uses phantom power, don't switch it on because it uses extra power. Also remember, don't plug and unplug stuff here when your phantom power is on. You'll get big bangs going through your PA system. Here you have the control for the single aux return, which is this pair here. Okay, now this return, it is essentially a stereo input. Well, it can be used as a mono input. You see it says there left mono. And this input is like a stereo channel, except it has no EQ and very limited routing options. You can send it to the aux out or the main mix, right? So it's essentially a stereo or mono input with no EQ. So that's these two knobs. This is the master for your aux send, these blue knobs here. All right, so that's the master. Unity gain is at 3 o'clock, okay, not 12 o'clock. On this mixer, it's a little bit confusing because unity gain on the aux here is actually at 2 o'clock, but on the master, it's at 3. I don't know why they do that. This is the master for the effects send, which is this one here. It is not the master for the internal effects engine, right? There's no master control for that. As you can hear, as soon as you raise these, assuming there's nothing plugged in there, your signal is automatically routed to the internal effects engine, and then it's brought back here. Okay, just to show you that, we'll start sending. We've got some reverb happening there, and I'll adjust this. You can hear that there's no change. Okay, so that only affects stuff when you got stuff plugged in there. Below this, you have the level for your headphone output as well as your monitor output. Here, you have the switch that selects what you listen to, right? Whether you listen to the stereo output or the group output. So if you're not using your group output, in this case I've got the fader down, and you press that in, you won't hear anything in your headphones or at your monitor out. Here is the level for your 2-track in, which is this pair of RCA inputs here, and right here it allows you to choose whether you send it to the left, right, or to your monitor. So if you were in a recording situation, this is where you would connect the output of your multi-track recorder so that you could monitor what was happening when you pressed play on your recorder, right, as opposed to record. And finally, you have your master fader. So we're nearly done, but I'll just demonstrate the use of this group. Okay, now this group, you don't have to use it if you don't want to, but it can be useful to consolidate channels that are similar. Okay, now in order to use this group, you need to disengage the channel from the ST and press this to route it to stereo. Okay, so when I disengage this, my voice will disappear temporarily. And then here you see we're back. Okay, so all I'm doing there is I'm routing this channel through this fader. So if you can hear, if I pull the fader down, Check, check, 1, 2, check, check, 1, 2. So for example, say if I had 4 vocals and I wanted to control the level of all 4 of them without disturbing the relative levels, I could route all of them to this and then use the single fader. The other advantage of this is that this group or pair of groups, it's actually 2 groups because it's a stereo group, has its own set of outputs here. So this group out could be used to route to a recorder. Say you only wanted to record the first 4 channels. You can also use it to route as additional outputs from the mixer. So to route to, say, an overflow room, a cry room, a second venue, or even a recorder. All right? Now, you can disengage this from the stereo output and have both 1, 2, and ST pressed on the channels. What this does is it routes the signal to both the group and the main left-right. But because the group is disconnected from that, you actually have a separate set of outputs. Now, where you would use this is, say you're using the group output to drive a set of front fills and you're using the stereo out to drive your main PA system. So in this case, you'd be using this as a separate level control. So you'll notice that now this doesn't actually affect what you're hearing because you're connected to the left-right output. What you must not do is have both of these switches down with that in, right? You'll hear that what that is doing is effectively you're sending the signal twice to the main stereo out, once directly and once through the groups. So that's just some possibilities for the group output there. All right, so that is an overview and user guide of the Yamaha MG124CX. If you have questions or comments, please do get in touch with me either through the comment section below or on Facebook. Until the next video, this is Bruno Luce with GLB Productions. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.